Bitcoin has been in a bear market for most of 2026. Most altcoins are down 70, 80, 90% from their highs. And then there's Hyperliquid. While everything else was bleeding, Hype went from $20 in January to a new all-time high of $75 at the beginning of June. That's 260% in a crypto bear market. Fair to say, it's worth exploring what actually is driving that hype, what the chart is telling us, and where I think the price goes by the end of 2026. This is not financial advice, always do your own research. Hype is off to an amazing 2026 so far. While Bitcoin was dropping, Hype jumped from 20 to 75 bucks within just a few months. 260% in the green from January to June. Bear market? What bear market, guys? Well, right now, Hype is pulling back from the ATH, but that is totally normal. The current market cap sits around $12 to $13 billion with a circulating supply of approximately 222 million tokens out of a maximum of 1 billion. Hype now sits comfortably in the top 10 assets in all of crypto in the same tier as established layer 1s. So our price targets for the end of the year need to account for this fact that Hyperliquid is already a tier 1 crypto. Anything else would be just unserious. Before we get to the price targets I'm setting, we must look at the Hyperliquid tokenomics, which are indeed playing an instrumental part in the project's success. Hyperliquid never raised outside capital. When the Genesis airdrop launched, 31% of total supply, that's 310 million tokens, went directly to early platform users. Nothing went to private investors simply because there were none. They slept on it. The supply mechanic is where Hype genuinely stands apart though. 97% of all protocol fees flow into the assistance fund, which uses that capital to buy Hype tokens from the open market every single day, automatically. The more the platform is used, the more Hype gets removed from circulation basically. The counterweight to that is the unlock schedule. On June 6th, a scheduled vesting release added nearly $600 million worth of new Hype supply to the market, which is the primary reason for the current pullback from the ATH, the way I see it. I gotta tell you, these monthly unlocks continue through 2027, just so that you're not caught by surprise, okay? So the buyback is real, but it is in a constant arm wrestle with the vesting supply hitting the market. In my view, how that tension resolves is the single biggest price factor in the short term. When we open the Hype's weekly chart, we can see that the price has been in a strong uptrend. It launched at around $12, had its run initially to $35, followed by a sharp rejection, clearing all the gains from the launch. After that, it skyrocketed to $59 without almost any big retracement. And then Hype started dropping with the whole crypto market in October 2025, understandably, and found a low at $20. But in all fairness, the price rejected from that $20 level with a huge volume candle, proving that was the bottom indeed. 6 months later, and Hype hit a new all-time high of $75. The price is now retracing, which is natural after a run like that. But where could we see the price drop to? Now, we are going to pull the Fibonacci from $20 low to 75. We can see the 618 fib is sitting at around $40, and if we look closely at that zone, we can see it has been quite important too. The price had a hard time breaking above it, and once it did break, it retested it many times as support. So that tells me it's a crucial level if the price starts moving down towards this zone. Another important zone of support for Hype is this trend line when we pull from the $10 low to the $20 higher low. What's more, this support line also aligns with the 786 Fibonacci level. See, these two lines meet together at around November this year, and this is a very important month. But don't just take my word for it, let me show you why. Bitcoin is hitting its all-time high always at around 75 weeks after the halving. Then its bottom is almost always 52 weeks after ATH. So when we measure 52 weeks from the last BTC peak, we can see that it comes in October this year. And you know what pumps after BTC? large cap alts, of which Hype is a proper representative. That's why I expect the period around October and November to be massive. But for now, if Hype continues to drop, those two zones at $40 and $30 are very crucial support levels. Another short-term bearish sign could be the head and shoulders pattern forming on the daily time frame. Just look at it. The target here shows that the price can drop to below $40 indeed. Now, what I would wait at these zones to happen is this. I want to see a big green candle with rising volume, like the one we saw here previously when the price rejected the $20 level with strong volume. And it just continued upwards. That's what I would like to see again this time too. But where could the price actually go from these levels until the end of this year? Pull out your calculators, guys, because we're about to find out now. First, a bit of context. Hype's dominance at its all-time high reached 0.85%. Additionally, it's also fair to assume that the total crypto market cap reaches $3 trillion by the end of this year, which is the equivalent of the 2021 high. One more thing to keep in mind before we do the math is that the circulating supply will most certainly be higher than today. A more realistic figure by then would be somewhere around 280 to 300 million tokens. And for the purposes of our calculations, I'll use 290 million as the middle estimate. Here are my two main scenarios. First, Hype simply reclaims its all-time high dominance of 0.85%. At a $3 trillion market cap for all of crypto, that gives Hype a market cap of $25.5 billion. Now, divide that by 290 million tokens, and you get a price of around $88. That's roughly a 17% move above the current all-time high. Yeah, not explosive, sure, but it's clean and grounded. Now here's scenario number two. Hype expands its dominance to 1.5% of total crypto. That's not a crazy assumption for a protocol that is already the dominant on-chain derivatives exchange and is still growing its market share. At $3 trillion total valuation of crypto, that's a $45 billion market cap for Hype alone. Again, divide by the number of expected circulating tokens, 290 million, and you arrive at a price of around $155. This is nearly 2x from the $75 ATH and more than a 7x from the $20 bottom we discussed. Given everything we've seen from this protocol, the daily buybacks, the revenue growth, the ETF inflows, scenario 2 is not that much of a stretch. But sure, it requires patience and the right entry, which brings us to the trading plan. Here's how I would plan to trade Hype. If the price drops to $40, I would start watching how the market reacts. If we get a sharp rejection with high volume, I would allocate half of my total allocation to buy Hype. Then, if it starts dropping below that zone, I will continue buying with the other 50% at around $30. That would be it. The invalidation of that trade, however, would be below that trend line, and we need to be aware of it, because if we lose the trend line, it could get ugly really fast. And what if Hype drops below that line? When you're at work, or you're driving the kids to school, or spending time with your girl, I'll tell you what, you will be cooked. But not if you have a broker by your side to execute your trades for you when you're just too busy with life. That's exactly what UpTrade is for. And yeah, I was skeptical of the notion of a crypto brokerage firm at first too. But frankly speaking, UpTrade offers better trade execution, there's no slippage, and it's a very simple platform to use. Overall, a much better experience when you compare it to the regular crypto exchanges. And the unique thing about UpTrade is this. A personal broker is assigned to you who helps you with your strategies, goals, and can actually execute trades for you when you just can't get to it yourself. And to tell you what, your personal broker also has a team of analysts who support him or her with their research, putting in over 200 hours a week. That's 200 hours a week that we, A, simply don't have, and B, don't need to worry about because UpTrade's team is taken care of. I definitely recommend UpTrade, and if you sign up for them right now through the link in the description, you will enjoy fast track onboarding and 30% off brokerage fees for life. Your personal broker is waiting for you guys at UpTrade, so if you want to save time and potentially make some good money, hit that link below. Speaking of making money, here's my plan for taking profit off that hype trade we're talking about. First, I would get 40% of the profit at the current all-time high of $75. The next zone that I take profit would be the first bullish scenario. That's to say, I would get 30% at $88, and the rest I would take at the target of the second scenario at $155. That's it, as simple as it gets. Look, no one knows exactly where this thing goes. It's a game of probabilities. But the fundamentals of Hyperliquid are real. The project has some real revenue, real buybacks, real users. That's more than you can say for most of crypto, especially nowadays. And you know it. I've laid out the levels I'm watching and the plan I would follow. The rest is patience on your part and also on mine. If you agree with my price targets or have a different take on it, perhaps, I would love to get your thoughts in the comments, so go on and tell me about it. If this was useful, then you should subscribe to the channel because I've got more of these breakdowns on the way and I would hate it if you missed them. I'm Stan and I'll see you in the next one here on airdrops.com. Ciao.